dream. Let's make it real. No better time than now. It's like ever. We have dreams like ever. Let's make it real.
Hello, welcome. My name is Aladin and welcome to my show. I hope everybody is having a lovely evening. Today I've got a special guest, a lovely lady, a warm, lovely, beautiful energy. What can I say? I met this lady and I could feel the energy, and she's going to talk about mindfulness today. I think that's a very interesting topic. I'm sure most of us heard of mindfulness and maybe haven't really practiced and maybe not sure what it is totally. And today maybe you'll gain some knowledge and insight on mindfulness. Before she comes on, I want to give a bit of background about her. So Kay Young, she actually started a mindfulness journey in Vietnam over 7 years ago, and Kay has embraced a range of practices that have become second nature in all aspects of her life. She attended a wide variety of retreats involved in numerous courses, teacher trainings, online summits, and group sessions, learning both secular mindfulness and other traditions. Alongside this, Kay has continuously read and studied to ensure her knowledge is kept as up to date as possible. Mindfulness for Kay is a daily practice, and this is a skill she calls upon to help with the various aspects of life. It's a skill that can provide a sense of balance, and Kay seeks to share all that she learnt to help others across Scotland and further afield improve the health and well-being in today's busy world. Kay's passion is mindfulness, and she gives the utmost encouragement to others in learning what she regards as an essential life skill. So it looks like, Kay is there. Her passion is to help people, and people around the world. I know she said Scotland, but I think I could feel that she's going to travel and teach this around the world. So please, I'd like to introduce Kay. Welcome, Kay.
Thank you so much. It's actually a pleasure to be here, and what an introduction. I'm like blown away.
Okay, as I said to the viewers there, that I've only met you kind of recently, through a friend who's introduced, who's actually Brian, who actually came to the show as well, and he was talking about stress, and he said, you need to meet this lovely lady, Kay, and I'm glad I did.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
I do feel that life, in life, it's not coincidence that you meet people. It's for a reason. And as soon as I met you, I felt the energy, and I knew that you need to come to the show and share your energy with the viewers around the world. So your journey started in Vietnam. That's interesting. I'd like to know, what made you go to Vietnam? Were you searching for something, or was it you just went to visit there and then you discovered mindfulness? How did it start?
So growing up, I always wanted to travel. I was, my family thought I was nuts because I always wanted to go on this big journey. And there was something drawing me out there. For some reason, I always knew I wanted to go to Southeast Asia. I wanted to backpack. I wanted to experience different cultures, different places. And when I think I must have been about 14, I thought, I'm going to go. I'm going to go to uni. I'm going to save up, and I'm going to go after I finish uni. And that's exactly what I did. So I went backpacking and ended up in Vietnam, and I was teaching in Vietnam. So I backpacked around Southeast Asia and then ended up teaching in Ho Chi Minh City. And while I was teaching there, I'd visited loads of temples while I travelled. I had met loads of monks. I'd been really drawn to this spirituality and the mindfulness that they had. And I was always so curious, like, how are they the way they are? And while I was living in Vietnam, a couple of things happened, and I ended up there by myself.
Yeah.
And when I was there by myself, I thought, what am I going to do? I've got a flat here, I've got a job, and I felt like secure enough, but I also was by myself. So I thought, what am I going to do? I don't want to be here all alone. And a teacher, a Vietnamese teacher who I was teaching in the school with, she came up to me and said, "I don't like you by yourself." And I thought, oh, she's answered me. She's read my mind. And she wanted to take me for dinner. So we jumped on her motorbike that night and she took me for this beautiful restaurant, one of her favourite restaurants, with her other friend. And we had a beautiful meal. We were chatting, we were laughing, it was fantastic. And afterwards she said, "Okay, are you full?" Which was a common thing in Vietnam. "Are you full? Have you eaten enough?" And I said, "Yes, I have." And she said, "Great, let's go and meet my monk now." And I was like, "Sorry, what?" And she said, yes, absolutely, you've got to meet my family. And I thought, okay, why not? So I jumped on a motorbike and her friend jumped on hers, and we drove to this little area, this lovely monastery in Saigon, or Ho Chi Minh City, and it was beautiful. I met her monk, I met her Buddhist family, and they welcomed me with open arms, and it was just amazing. I couldn't believe it, how lucky I was. I went from having nobody to having a massive family, and also was introduced to all this like mindfulness stuff and was taught loads of different things from them. Got given books by Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a Vietnamese monk who lives in France, and from then on that was me. I just loved it. I was so curious about it, but I couldn't understand why it was such quite a simple practice in itself, but so complicated to do and difficult to do. So that's where it all began.
Wow, yeah. As I said, I don't believe in coincidence. I do believe that you went there and certain things happened that you kind of been left alone, and here's a lady who comes along and introduces you to her family. You know, it's amazing. So you must have had my kind of belief is that we kind of always searching for things, you know, and then things are presented to us, and we might not think at that time, maybe when you're younger, because I know for myself is that I was kind of searching for something. It was because I was taught in a family that this is how things are, but my inner being was kind of fighting. It's like I'm looking for this something more to life than this, and that's how I kind of found my kind of led me to meditation in a sense, you know, something like. So after being in that family, so did you stay with them, or how long, you know, did you go? So when you got introduced to the family, the monks, how did it start? Did you have to go? Did they have classes? How did the whole start? The whole
it was very informal. So it was their family and their practices and their community. So they were called Hung, which means enlightenment and fragrance. And basically what I did was I was friends with this lady called Trang, and she was the one who taught me. The monk didn't speak much English, so anytime we went, it was translated for me, any teachings. But we went to ceremonies together, and she gave me books, and anytime I saw her in school, she says, "How are you getting on with them? Would you like to talk about them? Would you like to just sit for a minute together?" Or it was just various things like that, but it was very informal, so it wasn't like to kind of live in the monastery or anything. I had my flat just along from the school, and I taught, and I've worked 30 hours a week in the school whilst also engaging with this Buddhist family and learning and practicing the kind of slight more informal meditations at first, and then getting into a wee bit more formal meditations.
So how did you find when you're starting off? Was it difficult to do it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I think for the first 2 years of practicing mindfulness, because I didn't have, like, after I left Vietnam, which I stayed there for about 7 months, and then I came home because various things happened. I got mugged and things, and then there was another thing that happened as well, and it just didn't feel right for me to stay, despite the fact I had this beautiful family. And so when I brought mindfulness home with me, it was an amazing thing to bring home, and it was a challenge, but I was all by myself, so mindfulness wasn't that big back then. And there wasn't much information. There was a couple of books that I got just offline, but I didn't have like a community that I knew of to help me through it. So for the first 2 years I really struggled with it, and I found that the thing that I did was actually beat myself up when I was meditating, because I thought you had to stop your thoughts. I thought you had to clear your mind and you had to be calm and happy when you meditated, and of course that's not reality. That's not what it's being human. And so for the first few years I found it really challenging.
Okay, so we'll discuss that further. So what is mindfulness? what is the definition of that?
Yeah.
What let's
what does it all mean?
What does it mean? What is it? You know,
Yeah.
people are like, what is mindfulness? Because
Yeah.
people are watching think, never
Yeah.
heard of mindfulness,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Because some people might say mindfulness, maybe your mind is full of stuff, and
Yeah.
this kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a confusing word in itself, really.
Yeah.
In one of my classes, usually in the class, what I do is I have this image, and it's of a person and their dog walking through the park, and there's a little bubble to represent their thoughts and their mind.
Yeah.
And the bubble above the person is full of things. So it's full of like emails and phones and family and car and all these other things. And the little bubble above the dog is literally where they're walking in the park. So it's the trees and the sun and the path that they're walking down. And it's a perfect illustration of what mindfulness
Yes.
and mindfulness is. So when your mind is full of things, that's usually when you're thinking about the past, it's when you're thinking about the future, and you're not present. Whereas mindfulness is about being present. And the best definition I usually use is by Jon Kabat-Zinn, who's amazing in mindfulness. He's done so much for it and bringing it to the West. And he says that mindfulness is about paying attention in a particular way. So it's a paying attention on purpose to the present moment and non-judgmentally. So to break that down, on purpose, we're deliberately bringing our minds back when it wanders. So if we think about an argument we had last night, or think about a stressful day in the office that maybe it would be happening tomorrow, those are things that are distracting us from the here and now. So we deliberately bring our minds back when we notice it's wandered to the present moment, the here and now, rather than the past or the future. And non-judgmentally, which is the most important thing that I can't stress enough, because it's what I didn't do when I first started, and I was beating myself up thinking I was rubbish at mindfulness, is being kind to ourselves and not judging ourselves when our minds wander, because they naturally will wander. That's human nature, but it's about bringing it back when we notice. And every time we notice, we can treat it like a mini celebration and go, I've noticed my mind's wandered, I have the choice now to bring it back.
Wow, that's the thing. I was reading some about mindfulness, and I was interested in where it started. I know in the East, it's been there for thousands of years, and as you said, in Vietnam, the monks, they've been doing mindfulness thousands of years, and now it's this, because I came across it a few years ago, and they were saying it was coming from America, you know, they're doing mindfulness, and it was all in a magazine and all this, and I'm thinking, well, that's been around for a long time. Now it's like West coming in and thinking, oh, there's something new here, but it's not. It's nothing new about
Absolutely,
this.
no,
You know?
no, it's not a new fad. It's actually thousands of years
So
old.
that's the thing, you know. Because majority of us, I was saying, is we've got busy lives, lots going in our minds, and you know, we're thinking ahead, thinking about the past, as you said, and. But it's difficult to stay in the present moment. You know?
Absolutely, it's so difficult, and we live in a culture that's is doing mode. So there's different modes of being, and one of them's being mode, and one of them's doing mode, and we are actually quite stuck in doing mode now. And it's basically because we're constantly doing something. So we get up in the morning and we are checking our phones, we're making breakfast and eating, or we're getting the kids ready if we've got kids or families, taking the dog for a walk. Then we go to work and we're getting through our to-do list, and then we're having lunch while we're on our phones again, checking messages, and then we're going back to the office doing the rest of the to-do list. We go home, we make the dinner, we watch TV, we go for a walk, we feed the kids, we put them to bed. Whatever else is going on, we're constantly doing. So that doing mode is fantastic. It gives us purpose, it gives us drive. We get a natural release of dopamine when that happens, and it makes us feel really good. So that's why a lot of us are quite addicted to it. But what's so important for our immune systems is actually being in being mode. And that's soothing mode. So it's when we are at peace, we're kind of calm. Meditation, mindfulness is fantastic for this. And I always think of it as, you know, like if you imagine like a cat sitting on a windowsill looking out the window, just being and just watching the world go by and looking really peaceful. That's what I see as being mode. It's just really, really, you know, you can actually just feel it.
You're right, you just feel it. You're right. I mean, majority of us are on the phone. I mean, I'm guilty as well, because being on the phone, I try, in the morning, I am on my laptop after I can meditate and then go on to what I have to do, and then, because a lot of people, quite a few people, you know, not a lot, but a few say that, you just get up in the morning, be thankful, just kind of focus on what you have and appreciate and things like that. It's one of the things, being mindful of what you know, what life has for you, because majority of us say we don't have nothing, or you know, we don't appreciate and things like this. But you're right. So I know I've come across, I mean, in the past, I know a few of my friends and people I know say mindful, trying to do this is so difficult. I know you said for yourself it started very difficult, but how did you kind of go over it? Is it like a lot of practice, or did you use a certain technique that helped you? You know, maybe give a bit of tip and maybe help the viewers to start off?
Absolutely. I mean, the best thing I would recommend is to do 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day to start off. And basically what the best thing that I did was build it into my day and make it a habit. So it's like brushing your teeth. You look after your teeth, you can look after your mind. So it's so important for us, but it's something that we just let go of. And so building it into your routine is so important as well. So maybe starting off in the morning, getting up like yourself and getting up and meditating. So everybody can afford 5 minutes a day. If you manage to do that for 21 days you can change a habit. And then you can up that to 10 minutes a day. And once you get into that, it will just flow, and you can make it longer and longer as you go. Some people say, oh, you must have to meditate for a whole hour each day to feel the benefits. They've actually proven by brain scans and all sorts of scientific evidence and research that 10 minutes a day changes the front part of your brain. And so and it's incredible what it can do for your well-being. So only 10 minutes is actually proven to help substantially. So I just build it into your day, experiment with it. What I did at the start was I tried to meditate in the morning, and I was rubbish. My mind was so busy and so excited for the day, I couldn't keep it rested. I didn't feel like I was benefiting from it. So I then tried at night time, and I found that really, really beneficial. End of my day, I just sat for 10 minutes and I focused on the breath, and it was just so, I found it so beneficial, challenging at times when my mind was busy, I was stressed about stuff, but the more I did it, the more it gave me. So the more you give it, the more you get out of it. That's what I kind of say.
So what about people who say that, I mean, meditation obviously talking about mindfulness here, talking about just focusing on the present moment. And with meditation is, it's the same thing. It's kind of focusing on the breath, or, I mean, I love listening to music, kind of relaxation. At night time, I'll put my headphones on and just kind of go somewhere else, and just imagine I'm near a beach and relaxing and just enjoying the air and all this, and that's how I just feel totally relaxed as well. And there's various other ways that you could do as well. You meditate or mindful, just walking down the park, as I said, and just focusing on the flowers, just being mindful of the flowers, the color of the flowers, the trees, the color of the, it's all this.
It's all mindfulness, absolutely. And I think everybody thinks that you need to sit under a tree and have like hours a day just sitting under a tree meditating, and that isn't the case. I mean, there's formal and informal practices, and I think that's something that I always emphasise. As you don't need to do formal practices every single day. So if you were able to sit down for 5 minutes and focus on the breath, or do a guided meditation that's online, and then you did informal practices throughout your day, then that can be just as beneficial. And the reason why mindfulness promotes formal meditation is to allow you to concentrate on just one thing in your body. So for instance, your breath, or you can do a body scan, or you can focus on sounds, or you could focus on flowers. It's just allowing your attention to focus on one specific thing, and that's what's important about formal meditation. But informal practices, there's so many things you can do with that. So that's picking an activity that you do every single day and making it mindful. So I mean, there's like washing the dishes, there's doing your teeth, there's showering, there's eating, there's drinking tea, which we've talked about before, which is one of our favourites. Absolutely incredible. If you love tea, then mindful tea can make it so much better. It's absolutely amazing. There's mindful walking. So that's Thich Nhat Hanh was one of his favourites, is mindful walking, and you can go for like, say if you're a busy person, you've got like a big family, you've got a full-time job, and you've got dogs, you've got grandparents that you're looking after, whatever else is going on in your life, and you don't have time to do a formal meditation one day, then going walking mindfully to your bus or your train, then that can be just your practice that you can engage with. And like you're saying, you focus on one thing, so you focus on maybe your feet and the way that your feet feel as they touch the ground, or focusing on the breath as you walk and just trying to hold your body in open awareness. I mean, you can be really, really creative with it. One client I had, he absolutely loved squeegeeing his shower.
Yeah.
So he had a wet room, and I just found this the funniest thing. He had a wet room, and he loved to make it all perfect. He had quite OCD, and so he would squeegee mindfully. And I said, a mindful squeegee. That's the most adorable thing ever. So that's what he did as his mindful informal practice every day. So you can be creative with it.
Yeah, because I was thinking, like, I tried this mindful cooking, and when you doing this mindfully, your actually food tastes better.
Definitely, it does, because you appreciate all the effort you're putting in. Absolutely,
definitely mindful cooking and things like that. Something else came to mind, but I just went there. But as I said, majority of us, I said, we're so busy. But one thing you said about being, connecting to our own being who we are, and I think at the moment, I mean, in the media and on other places, there's not enough information. There's so much on the media talking about what you have to do, what you have to achieve, what you need in your life. But I hope in the future that they teach you that the most important thing is just being who you are, just connecting to who you truly are is inside you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then just, as you said, just being mindful. The thing about mindfulness just came back to me is that I realize that when I'm more mindful, I become more aware of things around me, the situations or people's behavior, people's reaction, how I react, and it actually helps my life because it also, I feel sometimes, I feel like I'm detached, but I'm kind of watching the drama, because you become mindful that you kind of see the whole picture. Oh,
absolutely. It kind of gives you that ability to step back and just see the actual picture. Exactly. So I think one thing that we do is go into autopilot when we are not mindful. And it's a thing called implicit metacognition, but basically autopilot, and we just go into our habitual behaviours automatically without thinking. And so many occasions that can impact your relationships because you go into a conversation and then someone says something you maybe not like too much, and then all of a sudden you've reacted and you've said something maybe you regret. Or if there's a bigger situation and you're watching it all, you're like, oh, can't believe this is happening before me, and you're able to take a step back and not get so emotionally involved in kind of tunnel vision in a way. Yeah, definitely. Mindfulness really helps with that.
That's something that I've realised that is looking back the years and years ago, I was a totally different person to now, and I kind of watch, and some people want me to react. I'm just watching. I'm just listening. That's what, and majority of it, I mean, when I'm driving, and sometimes we could be driving and we'd be thinking about things, and you want to go to A to B, and you're there B, and you think, how did I get here? Because your mind, you were thinking about other things, and you were autopilot just driving.
Yeah, absolutely.
To the A to B.
Yeah. Well, so many people say that, and that's one thing that I do in my talks as well, is talk about that, because like autopilot is fantastic, because if we didn't have autopilot and we weren't like evolved this way, then we wouldn't be able to drive. Because if we had to think about every single little thing we did in every single moment, driving a car is too complicated for that. But then there's moments where your mind wanders and you get from A to B and you go, oh, I've arrived? What happened there? Or you're maybe like having a conversation with someone and having a coffee with a friend, and you're sitting there nodding along, but you have no idea what they're saying because your mind has wandered. You're like, oh no, I'm still nodding. My favourite one of autopilot is when you're sitting eating a meal, and so often people will sit and eat like they'll prepare a lovely meal and they'll spend time on it and everything, And then they'll sit in front of the TV and put their favourite show on and eat their dinner. And they only realise that the dinner's disappeared and they've eaten it all because they're eating their last bite. And because they've just been on autopilot and they've been eating it without noticing, and because they've been watching their TV and things. So yeah, that's quite a common one.
That must be, if you keep doing that, you could be eating a lot. And then that's why, people are maybe slightly overweight and things.
Absolutely, they don't actually realise that they've eaten all the things. Like they might think, I'll just have one of those biscuits, and then they go into autopilot while they watch their TV or if they're on their phone, and all of a sudden the packet's gone. They're like, oops, I didn't do that. But yeah, mindful eating is fantastic for weight management and even just appreciation. Like if you're on autopilot all the time, it's really difficult to find that gratitude and that joy that you can find in the small things of everyday life. And I've noticed when I'm out walking and I've snapped into autopilot, I'll be marching down the road and I'm like, oh, I've missed all these things. What have I walked past and missed? So then I'll catch myself and I'll be a bit more mindful. And I'll be like, people will be smiling at me and I'll be smiling back, just strangers. And know that lovely way that you can just catch someone in a moment and then you just smile at each other and then that's you. Or like nice flowers at the side of the road or trees. There's just so many things that we walk past every day and we don't notice because we're on autopilot and thinking about all the other things that are going on.
It's amazing, as you said, that I've come across people that I've been sometimes maybe been rushing and not realizing, and maybe somebody smiled and said thank you, and you kind of rushing to go somewhere or something, and later and then you go back to that person is smiling again, then you realize. But you have to, I suppose it's all about, as you say, it's a practice.
Yes.
And it's about yourselves. People say, oh, I can't do it, and they might do it for a day, 2 days, a week, and they forget about it. But I feel that if you really want to change yourself, you have to keep practicing.
Absolutely, I 100% agree. It is a practice. So I've been practicing for over 7 years now. And every time, I just remember the first few years even, because I didn't have anyone to teach me, and because I had my family in Vietnam, but because I came home, I just was reading books and doing it myself, and I found it more difficult. But I think there's so much, it's so accessible nowadays that I'm so excited, and there's mindfulness teachers that are just out there like teaching this, like myself, and it just makes it so easy to learn the theory, to then have the practice, and then to keep the practice up. And you're totally right, it needs to be a practice. I always compare it to learning any skill. So, for example, like Andy Murray didn't just jump onto Wimbledon at just out of the blue and win Wimbledon. He didn't. He trained all his life. He practiced, he learned the theory, he practiced some more, and then he practiced some more. And that's just what mindfulness is. It's learning the skill, and then it's about practicing it and developing it. And it's amazing because the more you do, the more that you see the benefits. So it's not like you need to do it for a few years and then you go, oh, I finally get it. Every time you do it, you feel more and more. So it keeps on giving, which is fantastic.
Yeah. I think people should. We all should be learning mindfulness, because majority of us are like in a dark room, and we could see a part of the dark room, the light, when you become very mindful, you could see the whole room light up.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to say it. Absolutely.
And you could see things that you didn't realize. You look at maybe your family, your partner in a different way. You didn't, your children. You appreciate things. It's like colours brighten up. The colours go brighter and brighter, and you just didn't realise that. I was always there.
Absolutely.
That's the
you just
thing.
didn't notice it.
They notice it at all, and that's how if people who practice mindfulness and see things as time goes on.
Absolutely, and it's amazing that you mentioned about like transforming yourself and changing yourself and. If people are wanting to change themselves, they do have the choice, because they're proving in science now, it's all about like the neuroscience of it all, creating new pathways in your brain. And so if you go into autopilot, you're actually building and strengthening the old pathways when you're in autopilot, because it's your habitual behaviours. Whereas if you change your patterns and you do something like mindfulness practice every day, you then catch behaviours that you don't maybe particularly like, and then you have the choice tries to change them and create new pathways in your brain. And they've proven that, like, before there was an old saying that you can't teach an old horse new tricks.
Yeah.
And it's absolute nonsense. So they've completely changed that. They've thrown that out, they've put it in the bin, because they can learn up until you're 80, 90 years old if you want to. And it's so empowering. I think that's incredible.
Yeah. So you're, as you said, you could learn, doesn't matter what age you are, because some people might say, oh, I'm too old to learn. And that's for the younger generations and whatever. It doesn't matter. I think if you really want to improve yourself, you never, as I say, 80, 90, 100 years old, you could shift your mind. It's all about your mind. As you said, we could, you said, brush your teeth every day, change your clothes. Why not practice mindfulness too?
Exactly. And if you want to look after yourself for overall health, then it's so important to do some exercise. It's so important to eat right, and it's so important to train your mind as well, and to keep your mind active and keep practicing mindfulness is a perfect way to look after your mind. And everybody says, "Oh, my mind's too busy. I'm not good at mindfulness." Do you know? Everybody I talk to says this. So you're not alone if you think that your mind is too busy. It's not at all. Everybody says that.
By being mindful, you could actually tune into your body, your cells. You become more, as you said, it affects your health. So you're much healthier. You also become aware of what's wrong. If something is kind of out of place, you kind of catch it at the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good thing. But generally, I think I do believe your mind affects you in control. I don't want to say control, but it does have a huge effect in your cells. Your cells listen to your mind.
Absolutely. I'd see it as like the body and the mind has a wee bridge over them, and they're very much connected. So if you have, say if you've got a pain, so there's a thing called like primary and secondary suffering, and if you've got a pain in your body, then it'll tell your mind, oh, I'm like in your brain, I've got a pain. So say in your lower back, and then you've got that pain, which is your primary suffering, and then you've got your secondary suffering, which is all the extra thoughts and worries and tension that we actually bring to that pain that just bundles around it and makes it even worse. And so the brain and the body they talk to each other, and they sometimes don't help each other. So sometimes we need to help them. We need to help our minds to calm down and go, you're all right, and be kind to ourselves.
Oh yeah. I know majority of people they go on holiday, and that's when they feel a bit relaxed and their mind's calm. You could do that for 1 or 2 weeks in a holiday, but you come back to the frantic world of a lot of things happening. But people say, I need a holiday. But if you were doing more mindfulness, you would be feeling that you're in a holiday mode kind of thing. Throughout your life, is being in a holiday mode, but dealing with life with ease.
It certainly makes it easier anyway.
Easier.
Absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some days that even I'll go through a stressful day, but the thing is, because like mindfulness brings with it a lot of emotional intelligence and understanding our processes and the way that situations impact us. So for example, if we're going through stress, I'm very aware that I feel that in my stomach. I'm very aware I feel it in my shoulders. I know what kind of automatic thoughts will come from it. And because of all that, I can be aware of them. And then I can have a choice whether to do something about it or not. So for instance, like if I'm going through a stressful day, then I'll take a break and I'll go, right, I'm going to sit for 5-10 minutes and just slow down and let myself rest. And that break is like a mini holiday sometimes, because you're going through this chaotic thing, and then all of a sudden you just get, and because I've practiced and I've built up my practice, I'm able to kind of dive into it a wee bit with more of an ease, into a wee bit of a kind of inner peace place. And it certainly does help, because don't get me wrong, I'm going on retreat on Friday and I'm extremely excited because I have been very busy, but I'm not like, I desperately need a holiday. I'm just really excited to go on a new adventure. So I think it does impact your everyday life in a positive way, so that you're less likely to crave a holiday, like you're desperate for it. And you can just maybe look forward to it instead.
I find that when I'm meditating, and if I'm going through a stressful period, and I just feel like, okay, I need to just leave things and meditate or be mindful and just kind of relax. And after 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I just feel really energized. It's like I've been filled up, filled up to the top, to ready to go again, and I feel really more focused, and I get more clarity in what to do. So I mean, if viewers are kind of stuck, and if they feel stuck in their life and their ideas, I would say, leave that aside and meditate or be mindful of things, and you see that things start to come in.
Definitely, things start to become clearer because you've got less kind of franticness internally, especially when you meditate. So you get to know yourself, and you get to slow down and actually see a bit of a bigger picture, which really helps to make big decisions. I've always found that if I'm struggling with a decision, I'll meditate through it and I'll see what comes, and it always helps.
So I used to say to my clients, if you see a whiteboard and see all this writing, is the whole body's covered with a lot of kind of writing, and imagine that you take a wee kind of cloth, and mindfulness is like slowly kind of rubbing all these words, and eventually the bodies will clear as and that's when that's when you practice that. That's how the body's going to be clear, and ideas, inspiration that comes will be so stand out there, and you get new ideas, and it'll be written on this board. It's not all that stuff that we carried from the past, or what people said. The feelings won't be in that no longer. Eventually, as a practice, as time goes on, as I said, sometimes takes years to get to that, but as soon as we start practicing, we start seeing the difference. Yeah,
definitely. And you let go of those kind of automatic thoughts and the conditionings and all these past things that you're talking about. Yeah, absolutely. And it just, that's a beautiful way to put it. Yeah.
So I'll be honest, I haven't got much time left anyway, but I'd like to know more about your courses. You're doing any training seminars? Maybe viewers want to know, maybe want to come to your courses?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a couple of classes that I do. So practice sessions I think are so important, and I do teach the theory of mindfulness. I do that one-to-one, so if any people want to contact me and get in touch about a one-to-one session, I guide you through 5 sessions to get you started on an amazing mindfulness journey. We get to do a bit of coaching and a bit of understanding needs and values, which is really powerful. So I do that one-to-one. But the practice sessions are fantastic. They take place on Sundays, so it's twice a month in the West End of Glasgow, and they are either 3 hours or 2 hours long, depending, and twice a month, and it's just a mix of practices. So it's like a body scan to start, and then we do tapping, and then we'll do a sitting meditation, and then we'll do some qigong, and then we'll do a bit of walking meditation, a bit of mindful communication, and then we do a bit of sharing and another sit to finish. So it's kind of like a mini retreat in a way. It's really lovely.
It sounds really nice. I think it would be amazing to go to your mini retreat.
Please come along. You're more than welcome at any time. So I've got those classes, and I've also got a couple of events on as well. So I'm doing an event called Public Speaking, Overcome Your Fear, with an award-winning public speaker, and that's on the 10th of October. So that's exciting, and that's in Glasgow as well. So everything will be on my website and my social medias and stuff. So if anybody is interested, you can.
So what's the name of your website?
So the website's k-young.co.uk, and if anyone wants to follow me on social media, it's just @kmindfulness. So it's dead easy to remember.
As I said you got amazing energy, and I think the viewers would love to learn from you. That's the thing, is you could learn from so many people, but it's the people that you can relate to. I know I relate to yourself. I could see the energy, I could feel the energy from you, and you just want to help people. Want people to become more aware and improve their life and well-being. Exactly.
It's transformed my life, so that's why I just want to help it transform other people's lives. It really has. So.
Wow, that is so amazing. So thank you, Kay, for sharing your experience, your knowledge, your energy with us and the world.
Yes, thank you.
I'm sure today that people have kind of received a lot of amazing insights that they could implement in their own life. Put them on practice. As we said, that it's all about practice and practice and practice. It's not just doing it one day or 1 week. It's all about putting time aside, 5-10 minutes a day, and practice that every single day. And after 21 days, is you
Change your habit.
Change your habit.
Yep, absolutely. Is that easy?
Yeah. So stick with it. 21 days. 21 days. You have to go with 21 days. And I actually tell my clients to do that. Is keep doing it and don't give up. Don't give up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even if it's difficult, even if it's you're really struggling. See, even if you do it when you're struggling and you think, oh, it's a rubbish meditation. There's no such thing as a rubbish meditation. It's all going to be beneficial, no matter how busy your mind is. So don't worry about it. If it's busy, then that's okay. Just keep it going.
Yeah, keep it going.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Kay, for coming on, and as I said, thank you for sharing your energy and giving me your time.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute honour. So really privileged to be here.
Thank you. So I'm sure the viewers will actually go to your website and they'll contact you on social media. I'm sure they'll find you and message you if they need more information.
Absolutely, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for. As I said, I'm loving the show doing because I'm an amazing guest. They got amazing energy coming and sharing their knowledge and experience with the world. I mean, that's what gets me excited about doing these shows, and that's encouraging me to kind of do it kind of weekly. So I'd also want to thank the viewers coming on and supporting me and sharing the video as many other people, and that also empowers me to do more and more videos in the next few weeks. So please join me next week. I've got another guest. I think you will recognize the next guest next week. I'll post it on Facebook, and she'll be coming on, and we'll be talking about happiness next week, next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. So anyway, thank you for your time, everybody, and thank you for coming online and watching my shows. Thank you for your support, your time, and I hope everybody is enjoying their day, and I hope you enjoy your week. Thank you again, and see you next week. Bye.